welcome to today's lesson, which is linear equations involving fractions. So with this, we're going to start with real simple linear equations, going all the way through to trickier ones with unknowns on both sides. So if you need to work on solving equations or solving equations with unknowns on both sides, then I'll put the links below for you to have a go at that first. So let's have a go at this first question here. So this is example 1. Remember to make sure you're getting this in your notes, because the only way to learn maths is to do it. So here I've got x over 2, which is equal to 12. Now, with this one here, I'm doing this one. I think it's really easy, but it's a good starting point to help with the next question, which you'll see in a second. So I've got something divided by 2 is equal to 12. Now I need to get rid of this divided by 2. And to do that, what I need to do is to get rid of a divide by 2, I'm going to be timesing by 2. So I'm going to be timesing by 2, timesing by 2. That will get rid of this divided by 2. So you end up with x is equal to 12 times by 2, which is equal to 24. Just like that. Now, it's worth noting that some people do this in a slightly different way. So some people will use kind of change the side, change the sign, or getting rid of it by timesing by this. So here I've got x divided by 2 is equal to 12. So some people will go, to get rid of this divided by 2, I circle this, and I'm going to times the other side by 2, which will get rid of it. So I end up here with x is equal to 12 times by 2, which is 24, which is exactly the same thing, really, but I just want to show you both methods so you're used to it. So let's have a look at these next questions here. Now I've got one for you to have a go at, and one for me to show you, and then one for you to have a go at as well. Now, with these questions, you'll notice that it's slightly different to this one, because the x is on the bottom, so 7 divided by something is equal to 4. So this is example 2. So I've got 4 is equal to 7 divided by x. Now, the problem I've got here is that I want to get x on its own. That's what solve means. Solve means to find out what the unknown is. So I need to, first of all, before anything, get that x from that denominator. And I do that by timesing by x and x. So I'm taking this one here and I'm timesing the other side by x. So if I times the left-hand side by x, I end up with 4x. If I times the right-hand side by x, that means I'm getting rid of that, so I just end up with this. So I'm taking that divided by x and I'm timesing the other side by that. So I end up with 4x is equal to 7. Now I've not finished there, because I don't have x on its own, and that's the point. So to finish this off now, I need to divide by 4, divide by 4. If I divide the left-hand side by 4, I just end up with x. And if I divide the right-hand side by 4, now again you might be thinking to yourself, I can't do 7 divided by 4, but don't worry too much about that. We just write it as 7 over 4, like so. Could write that as a mixed number, or could write it as a decimal. We're going to leave it like that for now. Okay, so pause now and have a little go at this question yourself. Okay, so have a little go at that question. Okay, I will go through it. This is example 3. If you're still not sure, then it's probably worth getting this in your book as well. Remember, the only way to learn maths is to do it. So 2 is equal to 12 over x. First thing I need to do is get that x off the denominator by timesing up by that. So timesing the left-hand side by x to get rid of that. I end up with 2 times x is 2x, which is equal to 12. Then I need to divide by 2 to get x on its own. So divided by 2, I end up with x is equal to 6. Brilliant. Let's just check those answers. Super. 7 over 4 and 6. Absolutely perfect. So let's have a go at the next one. The next one's example 4. So this one here is a little bit trickier again. So this one here is example 4. We definitely need to get this one down in our notes. 7 divided by x plus 1 is equal to 10. So the first thing I'm doing here is I need to get rid of all of that x plus 1 from the denominator. We can't have it as a fraction at first. So to get rid of that whole denominator, which is x plus 1, I need to times the other side, times the right-hand side by x plus 1. So I'm taking this and I'm timesing by x plus 1. Okay? So I end up with 7 is equal to 10 times by x plus 1. Now, I'd probably write this as a fraction because you're timesing with a bracket, because we're timesing all of this by x plus 1. So it's 10 times by x plus 1. Okay, that denominator times by that here. And then we're going to finish this off by expanding the bracket and solving like we did in linear equations. So 7 is equal to 10 times by x, which is 10x, 10 times by 1, which is plus 10. Then we need to get rid of this 10 first by subtracting 10, subtracting 10. Subtract 10 from this side. 7 take away 10 is minus 3. Again, don't be worried about that. Starting at 7, taking away 10 is minus 3. If I take away 10 from this side, I'm just left with the 10x. And the last little part here, remember that I want x on its own, so I need to get rid of that 10. So I'm going to divide by 10, divide by 10. Minus 3 divided by 10 is equal to minus 3 over 10, which is equal to 10x divided by 10, which is just equal to x. Okay, so let's check that answer. Minus 3 over 10, absolutely brilliant. Notice that I've left it as a fraction and it's negative there as well. So let's have a go at this next question here. So this one here, again, is getting a little bit harder. I think actually the hardest part of this one is the fact this is negative, but this kind of question I've seen come up a few times in the GCSE, so we do want to focus on it. So this here is example 5. So we've got 7 minus 3f over 4 is equal to 2. So the first thing we're going to need to do with this one is get rid of that denominator, and we're going to do that by timesing this here by 4. So I'm timesing that by 4, taking this side, timesing by 4, so I end up with 7 minus 3f is equal to, well, if I times that by 4, it gets rid of that 4 on the left-hand side. I'm timesing the right-hand side by 4. 2 times by 4 is equal to 8. Brilliant. So the next thing I need to do is I need to get rid of this 7 next. Okay, so I'm getting rid of this 7 by subtracting 7, subtracting 7. So when I subtract 7 from this side, I'm just left with the negative 3f. Okay, and then 8 take away 7 is just 1. Now, the thing that makes this a little bit trickier is because this is a negative 3f, and people see that negative and go, well, because it's a negative, I need to add to the other side. But that's not the case, because it's minus 3 times by f, okay? Minus 3 times by f. So to get f on its own, I need to divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. So I'm actually dividing by this to get rid of it, which leaves me just with f, okay? And then 1 divided by negative 3 is equal to, 1 over negative 3. But actually, you wouldn't leave it like this. You'd put the negative in front of it and go minus a third, like so. Okay? So f is equal to a negative third. Okay, so let's check that answer. Minus a third, absolutely brilliant. Super. So, I've got 2 more examples here. Again, I'm going to have a go at one, and then you're going to have a go at one as well. So here we've got example 6 and example 7. Now, these ones are harder, and you'll notice that these ones are harder because they have unknowns on both sides. Okay, so if you do need to watch the video on solving equations with unknowns on both sides, I'll put the link below, but you will need to watch that before you do this. So this is example 6. Okay, so let's do the one on the left first of all. 5 minus x divided by 2 is equal to 2x minus 7. Now, I will also mention that I've actually seen these questions come up loads recently on the new style GCSE, so it is worth thinking about this one. So, with this example first, with this example here, the first thing we need to do is get rid of the fraction first. So I get rid of this divided by 2, and I do that by timesing the other side by 2. Okay, so I end up with 5 minus x is equal to 2 times by 2x minus 7. I'm doing 2 times by all of that. Okay, then I can solve this like I'm solving equations with unknowns on both sides. So it's going to be 5 minus x is equal to 2 times by 2x, which is equal to 4x, and 2 times by minus 7 is minus 14. So then how do I solve an equation with unknowns on both sides? Well, what I need to do is I need to get rid of the smallest unknown. And in this case, my smallest unknown is the minus x on this left-hand side. So how do I get rid of this minus x? Well, I add x to both sides. If I've got minus x plus x, that's just going to be equal to 5. 4x plus x is equal to 5x. And then we've got minus 14 there. So the next stage I need to do is get rid of this minus 14 by adding 14 and adding 14. So if I add 14 to the left-hand side, 15 plus 14 is equal to 19. Minus 14 plus 14 is just equal to nothing. So I'm left with the 5x. And then I'm dividing by the 5, last part, to get the x on its own. 19 divided by 5 is equal to 19 over 5, which is equal to x. Absolutely perfect. Super. Okay, so pause now and have a go at the one on the right. Have a go at that yourself. Notice these are worth 3 marks. Both of these have come up on a past paper at some point. Okay, I'm going to have a little go at it. So make sure you are having a go at these, because remember, the only way to learn maths is to do it. This is example 7 now. 8x plus 5 divided by 3 is equal to 2x minus 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to times by 3. So I end up with 8x plus 5. Taking that, getting rid of it by timesing by 3. The opposite of dividing by 3 is timesing the other side by 3. Which gives me 3 times by all of this, which is 2x minus 4, like so. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand that bracket. So this side will stay the same. 3 times by 2x is 6x. 3 times by negative 4 is negative 12. To solve with equations on unknowns on both sides, the easiest thing to do is to get rid of the smallest unknown first. In this case, it's 6x. So to get rid of a 6x, I'm going to minus 6x and minus 6x. 8x minus 6x is 2x plus 5. 6x take away 6x is nothing, so you're just left there with negative 12. Then I need to get rid of this plus 5 by minusing 5 and minusing 5. 2x is equal to negative 17, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. So divide by 2, x is equal to minus 17 over 2. Brilliant. Let's just check both those answers. So they've put that answer as minus 8.5, but that's exactly the same. Don't worry too much about that. And we've got minus 3.8 for the last one. Super. So we're going to have a go at one more question on this. Okay, we're just going to make it a little bit harder. So this one, to be honest, isn't that much harder than the one we've just done. It's just that the bottom looks a bit trickier. So here, example A, it might even be worth having a go at this one yourself before we start. So 4x over 2 times by 3x minus 1 is equal to 1. Now you might look at this and think it's horrible, I've got x on the top, x on the bottom, where am I going to put things? But you're just following the steps that we've done. So we get rid of that denominator first by timesing the other side by everything that's on the denominator. So 2 times by 3x minus 1. So to get rid of all of that on the bottom there, I'm timesing the right hand side by it. Now 1 times by anything is, well, 1 times by 3 is 3. 1 times by a million is a million. 1 times by 2 bracket 3x minus 1 is that 2 bracket 3x minus 1. 1 times by all of that is just that thing. And then I'm almost back to what I started with. So I expand the bracket out. So 2 times by 3x, which is 6x. 2 times by minus 1, which is minus 2. I want to get rid of my smallest unknown. In this case, it's equal to the 4x. So minus 4x minus 4x. If I take away 4x from this side, I'm just left with 0. If I take away 4x with this side, I'm left with 2x minus 2. Remember, you're trying to get x on its own, okay? So I'm going to get rid of this minus 2 first by adding 2 and adding 2. So 0 plus 2 is 2. Minus 2 plus 2 is equal to nothing, so I'm just left with 2x. And the last little part, to get x on its own, I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2x divided by 2 is equal to x. So I'm just left with x is equal to 1. Now you could have up here, if you wanted to, taken the 6 over first and then divided by minus 2. But this technique works just as well. You're showing all your steps. So if you got that right, you did it, well done. Okay, so let's have a go at some of these ourselves. I'll make this big for you. Remember, the only way to learn maths is to do it, so do make sure you're having a go at these. So there's some questions, have a go at those. Notice that some of these are past paper questions. Okay, I'm going to pop the answer up. Can you mark those in green for me? Again, make sure you are having a go at these and you're not just copying the answers, because remember, the only way to learn maths is to do it. Okay, thank you for watching this video on linear equations involving fractions. Remember to make sure you're getting these questions down, because the only way to learn maths is to do it, and have a lovely day. Okay, see you later.